Hello everyone, very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Shantanu Rana and today I am going to take this session on effective resume building. But before we actually start with this session, I want all of you to let me know in the chat box whether I'm clearly audible, whether my screen is visible or not, whether I am visible or not. Once you guys will confirm in the chat box, we will directly start with this session on effective resume building. So please let me know in the chat box. Shailendra Dubey. Hello, Shailendra. Mallika Arjuna. Hi, sir. Hello, everyone. Very good afternoon to all of you. I hope your weekend was great. Please let me know in the chat box whether I'm clearly audible, visible, or not. Please write yes if I'm clearly visible and audible, and write no if I'm not clearly audible or visible. Yes. Thank you, Shailendra. Ria, thank you. Hello. Hi, everyone. Perfect. So we'll start with this session. Deepak, crystal clear. Perfect. Thank you for confirming everyone. Avinash, Krishna. Yes, perfect guys. Thank you. I love this energy. So I hope you all will be energetic, enthusiastic like this throughout the session. So this will be a 45-minute session where I'll be done teaching in like 40-45 minutes, and then rest 15 to 20 minutes we will be taking questions. In middle also, if you have any questions related to anything that we are discussing on the screen or anything related to resume interviews in general, you can put it in the chat box. Make sure all the questions are relevant to this session and to this type of setting, and then I'll be answering all those questions by having a look at the chat box. Right? Perfect. Swadesh, hello sir. Hello everyone. Right. So let's begin with this session. So first of all, let me just give you a brief intro about today's session, which is on effective resume building. So we all know that, whatever college we have done, whatever college we have been to, whatever marks we have got in 10th, 12th college, whatever course we have done, a resume is a necessity, right? Whenever you have to get a job, you have to apply to that job, and the very first thing that the interviewer or the recruiter is going to ask you is your resume. Now, a lot of things depend upon your resume. So, the very first part of the entire screening process is actually the resume selection. So, if your resume is not good enough, they are not going to give you a call for the interview, and eventually you will not be getting the job. So, if you want a good job, you want a job that can be your dream job too, you want to get into it, the very first step to that success ladder is having an effective and efficient resume. Now, there are certain aspects that we will be discussing, that what exactly is the purpose of a resume, why do you need to have a good resume, basic things, because if we do not understand the purpose of something, then we will not be able to put that much of effort in that. So we'll understand that why do recruiters ask for a resume at the first place. Once we are done with that, then we'll move forward. We'll understand the step by step process, what to write in education section, what are the essentials of a resume, what are the different components, how to write about your internships, work experience, career objective, whether we need to write our marks or not. Then we will be talking a little bit about the AI part of it, the artificial intelligence that is implemented these days by the HRs. So there are a lot of softwares by which your resumes are selected. And in that case, the SEO, the keywords become extremely important. We will be talking about those striking words, what are the keywords, why those keywords are extremely important in your resume, and how exactly we can have an effective resume for you. Right? So that's the main agenda for today's session. So let's get started. As you can see on the screen, we'll be starting with purpose of a resume, then essentials of an effective resume, a few striking words. You can take a screenshot of these striking words, and whenever you are building your resume, you can implement these words. Then components of an effective resume, what are the different sections? So a lot of people do not know whether we need to write our personal information or not, whether we need to write about education, in what format we can write. So we'll be talking about all the components of an effective resume. Then resume building step by step process, do's and don'ts, what are certain do's, don'ts, what are some certain tips and tricks. We'll be talking about all those things, and then eventually we'll be talking about the key points where we'll be discussing about language and formatting. So language and formatting is as important as what is written in your resume, because if everything is great that is written but it's very cluttered, once people have a look at your resume, they should get a clear idea about your professional journey. It should not be cluttered. It should not be like there's some random green color, purple color, yellow color, people are not able to see it. It's very cluttered. That will definitely leave a very negative impression on the recruiter or the interviewer. who's going to select your resume. So make sure it's not cluttered, it's crystal clear, and all the sections are very, very clear once we have a look at your resume. Now, how do we do that? For that, we have this session. So let's start with the very first topic, that is purpose of a resume. Now, why do we have a resume? What is the purpose of it? Number one, to sell yourself. Whatever you have done in your college, any internship, any project you have worked with, any non-governmental organization, you have worked on a research project, you have published a paper, you have completed a project, or maybe you have written some kind of anything, whatever you have done in your college life. You are a part of a cultural committee, a technical committee. Each and everything is going to count when you write a resume. The main aim, the main purpose of writing a resume is to sell yourself. Now, what do I mean when I say sell yourself? That simply means that you have to talk about your strengths, you have to talk about your technical skills, your personality traits, so that the recruiter gets a clear picture of your personality and they get to know whether you are a culturally right fit or not for a particular organization, for a particular job profile. So if you are applying for software engineer role, there will be certain skills which are required, which will be written in the job description. Now, how exactly are the interviewer going to evaluate those skills? By having a look at your resume. They will understand what are the technical skills that you have, what are the basic skills that you have, what are the soft skills that you have, what is your career objective, what is the education that you have, formal education that you have pursued, what is the BTech specialization you have done, what were the electives that you had taken in your college. All these things will be very important components of your resume. So the very first thing is you have to sell yourself through your resume. Then second is to summarize your academic and work history, to showcase your skills and qualities, to generate curiosity. Now, why do we need to generate curiosity through our resume? So if your resume is generating curiosity, definitely you will get a call for the interview. So if your resume is very dull, it's very boring, all the skills are not relevant for the job, if that's the case, definitely the interviewer will be very bored once he'll have a look at your resume, and they are never going to call you for the next round of the interview or the application process. So if you want to go ahead in the screening process, your resume should be very, very clear. It should be effective. It should have the tendency that it is selling yourself. It should have your academic work history, your skills, your qualities, and it should generate some kind of curiosity into the recruiter's mind so that he wants to know you more. For that, he will call you or she will call you and they will have an interview, and then you will move forward in the screening process. Then to set the tone for the interview. Now, whatever you are going to write in your resume, that is extremely important. A lot of people think that they can write whatever they want in their resume, and once they go to the interview, they are not able to justify anything that they have written, and in that case, definitely you're not going to get that job. It's a harsh truth, but it is truth eventually. So you have to make sure when you are writing your resume, you analyze each and everything properly. You should have some kind of self-awareness. You should know what exactly you are good at, what exactly you are bad at. Point out the things that are your strengths, that you are good at. Eventually you have to sell yourself through your resume, but that does not mean you can lie. If you lie in your resume, definitely once you'll go to the interview round, the interviewer will ask you questions about those things, and you will not be able to justify that, and that will leave a very negative impression. So once you write your resume, make sure rather than writing 20 skills, write only 5 skills. But those 5 skills you should actually possess. If you'll write 10, 20, 30 skills, but you do not possess all of those skills, and then the interviewer asks you a question about those skills, you will not be able to justify it. So that will not be a great idea. So write less, it should be concise, but make sure whatever you're writing is relevant. Whatever you're writing, you should be able to justify that. You should be able to provide some kind of examples for that. Those things are very, very important. Okay, so Vishesh is asking me, can I get a few sample resumes as well? Okay, Viresh, I will provide you a few sample resumes at the end if we'll have time. Okay, I have a few sample resumes, so definitely I'll do that. Perfect. Okay. Right. So Mani Chandan is asking me what is the first thing that an employer would look for in my resume. So it basically depends from job to job. Let's say you are applying for a software engineer role, and that is something actually we will be discussing also. So you are applying for a software engineer role. There's no point of writing in that you are very good with, let's say, editing images. you're good with something else, because that will not be relevant for the job. Definitely that can be a part of your interest, but whatever you are writing in your resume should be relevant for the job profile, should be relevant for the company. For example, let's say we talk about a company XYZ Private Limited. The core values of the companies are team player and all those things. Let's say team player, consistency, quality, all those things are the core values of the company. And in your resume, you have made a section weaknesses where you have written something which is out of the core values. You have written that you are not a team player, and that's the core value of the company. That definitely is going to leave a very negative impression on the recruiter. So whatever you write in your resume, the very first thing is it should be relevant to the company, to the job profile. If you're applying for a software engineer role, it's better you talk about the skills which are required in that field. Maybe you talk about Python, maybe you talk about Java, maybe you talk about full stack development, anything which is relevant for that field. If you're applying for, let's say, a marketing role, then maybe you can talk about digital marketing, maybe you can talk about SEO, maybe you can talk about SEM, all those things. If you're applying for the role of, let's say, an editor, then maybe you will talk about some different softwares that are used there, infographics, any other domain, any other knowledge that you have in that particular field. There's no point of writing thousands of skills which are not relevant for the job profile. That's the first thing that the interviewer will look in your resume, whether your resume is fitting the job description or not. Then second thing is they will match it with the core values of the company. Whatever the core values of the companies are, make sure you read those core values, you know the mission and the vision of the company, and you align your resume along with that. So that is extremely important. Then definitely there are so many other pictures which again will depend upon company to company and job to job, such as what is the formal education that you have got, what exactly is the percentage that you have. But these days a lot of companies do not go with CGPA or percentage. Sometimes there can be a few eligibility criterias, but eventually it comes down to the skills that you have. Even if you are from, let's say, a commerce background or any other background, and you want to get into AI, you want to get into ML, you want to get into data science, if you have done the right kind of courses, if you have done the right kind of projects in that area, and you have knowledge in that area, you can eventually shift, because people look at skills these days. So all those things will come into the picture once the recruiter is going to have a look at your resume. I hope that answers your question. Okay, somebody is again asking me for sample resume. Santosh will definitely do that. You don't have to worry about it. Now moving forward, essentials of an effective resume. As you can see, the very first thing, as I was talking about it to Money as well, that tailored for each job. Whenever you are writing a resume, you cannot do that there's one resume that will go for each and every company and each and every job. Let's say you're applying to 10 different jobs in 10 different companies, then you should have 10 different resumes. That does not mean that every time you will sit and you will design a resume, you will build an effective resume for each and every job. That simply means you will have to modify it according to the job description of a particular company. If you're applying for a software engineer role, it will be a little different. The skills will be a little different. The personality traits that you're going to mention will be a little different. If you're applying for a sales role, it will be a little different. What are the skills required for a sales role? Maybe you need to know a few softwares, CRM software, Salesforce. Maybe you need to have soft skills like empathy, organization. All those basic things will come into the picture. So a sales resume will always be different from a software engineer resume. And similarly, it will be different from a marketing resume. It will be different from a different role. So each and every role, each and every company will have a certain mission, certain vision. You have to match your resume with that vision, with those core values. Now how will you do that? So write your skills, keep one Excel sheet, write all your skills or your education, each and everything on that sheet. And whenever you are applying for any job, pick up the skills which are relevant for that particular job, write it in your resume, and then send that resume. So when I say tailored for each job, that simply means that each and every time you apply for a different company, you have to modify your resume based upon the job description and the core values of that particular company. That is extremely important. Now, one size won't fit all. That's the basic simple idea that you will have to follow when you are making your resume. Then includes numbers. For example, if you have to write manage the team, you manage, let's say you are a business development sales manager and you manage the team. Now rather than writing manage the team in your resume, you can write manage the team of 16 members. So if you add numbers, that will give it some kind of statistics and it will kind of justify whatever you have written. So writing numbers is extremely important. If you write numbers, that will give a better idea to the recruiter and they will be able to understand your personality in a better way. If you write manage the team, it leaves a lot of questions. How many team members were there? 4 members, 10 members, 20 members? What kind of teams did you manage? So these things should be mentioned very clearly in a very crisp manner, that managed a team of 16 members and maybe made sales of these many numbers, or cracked the sale deal of these 6 figures, 10 figures, whatever the number is. If you attach a number, that will give more value to whatever you have written. Include examples. When I say include examples, that does not mean you will have to write your example in the resume, but you should always be able to have some kind of example in your mind that you can justify in your interview. So let's say in your resume you have written you have managed a team of 20 members. Now in your resume, the interviewer can ask you anything about that. So you should have examples ready. What was the difficult situation that you faced in the team? How did you make it work? How did you overcome that particular problem? All those things should be there in your mind, very clear. Two things are very important when you are going for any interview. Number one, clarity of thoughts. Number two, clarity of words. So if your thoughts are clear, eventually your words will be clear too. And whatever you're going to communicate to the interviewer, there will be no mismatch between what you are thinking and what you are saying. And that mismatch should be null. You should try to make it null, and that's called effective communication. So whatever is there in your mind, think about it, recollect your thoughts, and then speak about those things. Keep some examples ready, be prepared. If a question is asked, you have already anticipated it, then provide the particular answer for that particular question in the interview. So whatever you write in your resume, make sure you have an example ready for each and everything, so that if the question is asked, an example should be ready and you should be able to justify that. Then never forget the 4 C's of resume. Number one, it should be concise. Number two, it should be correct. Number three, it should be clean. Number four, it should be consistent. What do I mean when I say concise? That simply means you don't have to write long essays. Your resume cannot be more than 1 to 2 pages. If preferably it should be 1 page, but if you have so many things, let's say cultural committee you were a part of, technical committee you are a part of, you have worked for NGOs, so much work you have done, maybe it can go up to 1.5 or 2 pages. Now if it is of 2 pages also, you will not have a lot of space to write essays and long stories, and nobody is going to read those long essays. So make sure you write it very precisely. If you have to write you manage the team, you should not write that I was there in this team, then there were 5 members in this team, then there were 7 members in this team, I managed 5 members, then one person left the team, then again there were 6 members. You cannot write that because nobody is going to read that. It's very boring, it's too much, and it will occupy a lot of valuable space on your resume that you can use for something else. So you can simply write manage the team of 20 members, and this was the let's say the project success, whatever that figure is, you can mention that. It should be very concise. Don't write long stories. That is number one. It should be correct. Whatever you write, you should be able to justify that. It should be correct. Grammar wise, punctuation wise, and in general content wise. You should not lie in your resume because eventually you will have to justify everything. Then it should be clean. What do I mean when I say clean? When I look at your resume, I should get a picture of your personality. That okay, this is your career objective. This is the education that you have got. These are your marks that you have got. This is the area in which you have worked. These are the projects you have. It should look very clean on the paper or in the PDF. It should not be like randomly there's some blue color, there's some green color, yellow color, which is not clearly visible. Font size is different here and there. Font style is different here and there. Somewhere you are using Verdana, somewhere you're using Arial, somewhere you're using different fonts, and it's very cluttered. That's not clean. Nobody would like to look at that. So make sure your resume should look very clean when the recruiter is going to have a look at your resume. Then consistent. Again, you should be very consistent. If the font size you are keeping at 14 for headings and 12 for the normal content, then you should follow the same throughout. If you are keeping blue and black color in your resume, keep it same. Don't keep it like one heading is in blue, one heading is in green, one heading is in red. That will look like very weird. So you have to make sure that it is very consistent, it is very clean. Once the person will have a look at it, they will understand your personality, they will get a clear picture of your professional journey. That is extremely important. Now it should be relevant. As I told you, it's again connected to the first point, which is tailored for each job. Whatever you write in your resume should be relevant for the job as well as for the uh, company. then not more than 2 pages. Your resume should not be more than 2 pages. Otherwise, it will be just too much for the recruiter to read, and they will eventually not going to have a look at this. So make sure it's crisp, it's clean, it's consistent, and it's correct. And it should be relevant for the job and for the company. These are certain things that should definitely you should keep in your mind when you are building your resume. Right? So as of now, if there are any questions, please put it in the chat box. Okay, somebody is asking me, if I do not have any experience, what will I write in the experience? So, Manikanda, I'll tell you, it's not, for example, freshers also write their resume, right? Let's say you are a 21 batch student and you have to get a job in 21 itself. There will not be any experience that you have, but still you have a resume, right? There's so much to talk about. Let's say you do not have any experience in the IT domain as of now, but maybe you had done a few courses, maybe you had done a basic project in your college, maybe it was a part of some elective, maybe there are so many different courses. If you go to Great Learning Academy, which is a offering by Great Learning, again there are so many free courses. Let's say you had done one IT course from there and you have got the certificate, you can mention those things in your resume. That will be a part of your maybe you have done some kind of internship, maybe you have built a kind of project, a mini project you have done. All those things you can mention to show that as of now you do not have any experience, but eventually you are trying to gain more experience in that. So that will work too. It's not always required that you should have an experience. Definitely, if you are applying for a role where some kind of experience is required, that will not be a good idea for you to apply. So you start with somewhere where not a lot of experience is required, and you can eventually learn and then gain some experience at the same time too. So I hope that answer your question. Okay, Madhur Singh is saying all clear, sir. Thank you, Madhur, for confirming. Perfect. I hope that's clear. Now, moving forward. Now, there are a few striking words that I have written. So now you can eventually take a just screenshot of this screen, and you can use these words whenever you are building your resume. So if you are talking about your achievements, you can use words such as accomplished, achieved, let's say accomplished this in these numbers in this sales team of this company, like that. Performed, recipient of this and this award, those things you can use. For example, if you have won any scholarship, I personally have got National Talent Search Examination scholarship when I was in 10th standard. So I can write recipient of NTSE scholarship by the Government of India Department of Science and Technology. Write that. You can talk about your achievements, whatever you have got in your school, if there's anything specific that you have got in your college, in your previous company, if you have won any award, any kind of scholarship you have got, all those things you can mention under the accomplishments or achievements, and you can use these striking words. Then opinion, if you are providing any opinion, let's say consulted this team, evaluated performance of these many members, suggested this idea, anything, you can write these things, you can write these striking words instead of made, because if you keep on using just one word, that can look very repetitive, which will make it look boring. So you can use words such as developed, built, created, designed, designed this plan. Let's say if you are a civil engineer, these will be very useful for you, right? You can write develop the building plan in AutoCAD, in 2D, 3D, in maybe ETABS, all those things you can use, right? Implemented, engineered, established, improved. You can use all these words. So I would suggest all of you to take a screenshot of this screen, and when you are building your resume, you have to provide, let's say, something for achievement, use these words. If you have to write managed, you can use these words. Coached, organized, led, mentored. So at one place you can write led a team of 4 members. At one place you can write mentored a team of 20 members. Wherever it is necessary, you can use these words, and these are very striking. These are like action verbs. So that's how you can use these words in your resume. Perfect. Okay, Madhur Singh is saying, I love the business English course of Great Learning. Thank you, Madhur. Again, I would suggest all of you, we have a YouTube channel, we have Great Learning Academy. Go to those channels. You can just on Google or any other search engine, you can type Great Learning Academy, and there are thousands of free courses over there. There's so much of content in all the fields. You want to learn AI, you want to learn ML, you want to learn business English, you want to learn public speaking, you want to learn data analysis, you want to learn Excel, you want to learn project management, anything, whatever you want to learn. There are so many free courses of 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours of duration. You can attend a quiz and you can get a certificate as well. So go to Great Learning Academy, do those courses, gain experience by attending those courses, get certificates, mention those certificates in your LinkedIn profile, in your resumes, and eventually you will be able to, gain a lot of experience in that domain. Even if you do not have any formal experience, any professional experience, that will still be a good idea. If you are writing your resume, you can mention these things later on. Perfect. Now moving forward, let's talk about the main thing, that is the components of an effective resume. So when we talk about components, a lot of people have this doubt that what to mention in our resume and what not to mention. So these things should be there in your resume. You can keep on taking screenshot of these things if you find it interesting. Very first thing is personal details. When I say personal details, that simply means your name, email ID. We'll be talking about these things in detail. So you don't have to talk about your marital status or maybe, random things, how many brothers you have, siblings, all of that thing like, is not required. Personal details, whatever is required in that, we'll talk about it in the upcoming part of the session. But as of now, just remember that these are the most important sections or the areas that should definitely be there in your resume. Right, so number one is personal details, profile summary, that a lot of people call it as career objective. Profile summary is better. I'll tell you why. We'll discuss about it. Then education, key skills, internships and work experience, projects, training and certifications, extracurricular activities and positions of responsibility, achievements, or you can write accomplishments. And there's one optional as well, that is additional information. So if you want to talk about your interest, you want to talk about something that you have done which is not really relevant for the job, but you still feel that it can be a good point to mention in your resume, you can put all those things in additional information. Otherwise, each and everything, whatever from personal details to achievements you are going to mention, it should be relevant for the job. This is the only one area, additional information, where you can talk about your interests or maybe hobbies, any specific thing that you know, which you feel you can mention. For example, how many languages do you know? You can write that you know 6 languages or 2 languages or 3 languages. If you have learned a new language, you can talk about those things, right? So that can be good for any particular field. It's not relevant to a particular job. That can come under additional information. Now let's start with personal details. So what should you mention in your personal details? Number one, your full name. That is extremely important. Just think of your resume as if you're going to introduce yourself. When you introduce yourself, the first thing that you tell them is your name. You give them your personal details. Then you tell them, how a resume, how a person is going to read it. You can't start with, hobbies. And then at the end of your resume, your name is coming up. We can't do that. You have to start with your name. So start with personal details. Write your full name, your email ID, your contact number, your LinkedIn URL, and if you are in that particular technical field, GitHub or any other portfolio link you have, you can mention that as well. No need to mention, random things such as parents' name, mother's name, father's name, marital status. All those things are not required at all. So if you want to mention anything about your personal details, these are the 5 things that you should mention. Make sure you have an account on LinkedIn, customize that URL and provide it in your resume. Any other thing, your address or anything, if the interviewer or the recruiter wants to ask you, since you have provided your email and your contact number, they can contact you and they can ask for it. But do not waste your valuable space on the resume writing things which are not really necessary, such as your address, marital status, parents name, parents occupation. All those things are not required. Only these 5 things will be more than enough. Don't mention religion, gender, home address, dob, father's name, marital status. Create a professional email ID. When I say email ID, you cannot write cooldude@gmail.com. That will definitely not be a great idea. So make sure you have a professional email ID. So for example, if your name is, let's say, Amit Sharma, you can write amit.sharma@gmail.com. If that's not available, you can write amit.sharma, let's say you are 1999 born, 1999 @gmail.com, or anything, but it should look clean. It should give an idea of your name and not something random, let's say cool dude, or some people write these random things. That should definitely be not be the case. Then customize the LinkedIn URL. As I told you, if you make an account on LinkedIn, there will be an option to customize it. So that will, if let's say your ID is something like this, linkedin.com/123456721, there will be a lot of numbers. So you can delete that and you can write, let's say my name is Shantanu. So I have written Rana Shantanu. That's my full name. So you can mention something like that, and then customized URL you can provide in your resume under the personal details section. So, in profile summary, these two things should be answered in your profile summary. That is, why are you interested in this company or job? Why should they hire you? It should not be more than two, three sentences long, and it should be a combination of your experience, skills, achievements, and you can add descriptive keywords as well. Now, two things. When you are writing your profile summary, first of all, the interviewer is going to read it. First thing that you have to mention is, why do you want this job? And second thing you should answer is, why should they hire you? Why do you want it? Because you are interested in this part of the job. Why do they need to hire you? Because you have these skills. And that will eventually make a very good answer for you. And that will, it should be a combination of your experience, skills, achievements. You can say that I have worked in this domain, and that's why I want to switch my career to this domain because I find it really interesting. And then I want to switch here, and I have these skills. I had done these courses, so I am a good fit for the role. So that will be the basic idea behind your answer, but you will have to restructure it in a better way. Now, here's an example for that. For your profile summary. So strong in design and integration with intuitive problem solving skills, proficient in Java, Python, JavaScript and SQL, passionate about implementing and launching new projects, ability to translate business requirements into technical solutions. Looking to start my career as an entry level software engineer with a reputed firm driven by technology. So this person has clearly highlighted his soft skills, his analytical skills, his technical skills, his basic ability in the business world, and then what he actually wants to do. He wants to start his career, or she wants to start her career in as an entry level software engineer with a reputed firm driven by technology. So that's how you mention it. It's just two to three sentences, very less words, and gives a very clear idea about the skills and the strengths of the person who's applying to that particular job role. Similarly, here's an example. You can again take a screenshot and redesign it according to your job profile for which you are applying. Moving forward, now how do you mention your education? You can mention table or bullet points. Either you can have a table where you can write your 10th, 12th and college marks. And if you had done post graduation also, you can mention graduation and post graduation like that. It should be in reverse chronological order. What do I mean when I say reverse chronological order? That simply means the latest should be at the top. For example, the latest education that you have pursued is, let's say, BTech. So very first thing will be BTech. Then before that, what did you do? 12th, then 10th. That's it. Do not mention 5th, 6th, 7th random things. Just it should be, it should start from, if you had done, let's say, PhD. There will be PhD, post graduation, graduation, 12th, and then 10th. So that's the reverse chronological order. Latest first, and then following by the let's say 12th and 10th according to in the same order. You can mention your institute's name, board or university name, year of passing and CGPA, as you can see over here. So if you go here, you can see undergraduate studies, BTech, computer science, CGPA is this. At the end of 6th semester, department rank is this. So if you do not have a department rank like this, you can skip it. This person has the department rank 1, that's why he has mentioned it. Similarly, secondary examination, April this, so he has written clearly which examination, which board, aggregate percentage, and if there is any first rank, second rank, or if you are in top 5 or top 10, you can mention that as well. So that's very clear. Now I have a question for all of you, and you have to answer this question in the chat box. The question is it necessary to add scores? So when you are talking about your education, do you really need to talk about your scores? Let's say your scores are less. Your scores are, let's say, 60%, 50%. Do you need to mention your scores all the time in your resume? Please let me know in the chat box by writing yes or no. If you think that we should mention our scores for sure, write yes. If you think that it is not necessary to mention our scores or our percentage CGPA, you can write no. Okay, Malik is saying no, it is not necessary. Okay, others, please let me know in the chat box what do you think, whether it's necessary. Santosh is also saying no. Okay, others, a lot of people I feel are saying no. Okay, right. So let me clarify this. I don't see anybody who thinks it's a yes. Anybody who thinks that it is necessary to add scores. Okay, Krishna is saying for freshers yes, for experience no, and that's a great answer. We can explain our experience during the time. No, Akash, I'll tell you why. No, no, Santosh. Santosh, Raj, the answer to this question is not no. You should mention your scores for sure in your resume. In interview, you can skip it. But each and every company, most of the companies will have some kind of eligibility criteria. So make sure you mention it in your resume. If you will not mention your marks in your resume, a lot of companies, 80% of the companies won't even look at your resume. Hiding a fact is not a great idea. You cannot talk about it in your interviews once you are selected, because they have already seen your marks in your resume and they have selected you. So you can choose to not mention it in your interviews again, but in your resume it is absolutely necessary to mention your scores. But as one person clearly pointed out, that is Krishna, that for freshers, yes, now that is also a good thing. So if you have a lot of experience, in that case you can actually skip that, because you already have a lot of experience and the company will focus more on your experience and less on your marks. But still, if you are a fresher and you have very less experience, it is absolutely necessary to mention your scores in your resume, even if it is less. You can choose not to mention it in your interview, but in resume it is absolutely necessary. So make sure you do not skip that. So it's a myth that it is not necessary. Make sure whenever you are writing your resume, you mention your marks, because if you won't mention your marks, company can assume anything and eventually they can reject your resume by not even having a look at it, because they will simply feel that you are hiding it. That means maybe you failed, maybe it's extremely less, and maybe even if it is not that less in the real life. So make sure you mention it, and in interview you can talk about it if it's good, and you can leave it if it's not that good score, right? So that's the answer to this question. Now, key skills. What do you mention in the key skills? First thing that you should do is read the job description and mention relevant skills. Tailor skills to suit the job. Mention only the ones you can justify. Always think of some examples and figure to justify those skills. We have already discussed it. Once you apply to a job, clearly read the job description that is given to you by the HR. Always there's a JD, job description. Read that. Connect with that job description, people in that job profile on LinkedIn. Talk to them. Get to know each and everything about that job profile. Get to know what are the skills which are required in that field, and then mention the skills that you have from those skills in your resume. Let's say you have 10 skills, but two of those skills are not relevant for this job. You can skip those skills and mention only the 8 ones. But do not mention anything that you will not be able to justify. If you are writing, you know Python, you should actually know Python. If you'll just write it for the sake of writing and you'll go to the interviewer will ask you two questions about Python, you will not be able to answer it, and that will be a big no-no. That will leave a very negative impression, and eventually you won't get the job as well. So make sure you write the things which are authentic. That is extremely important and are relevant for the job profile. For example, these are a few skills you can write in this format: languages, database, operating systems, others. This person has written if it's in the technical field. If you are applying for, let's say, some sales role, any other role, let's say you are applying for the role of an editor, then this can go MS Office, design tools, video editing tools, social media, excellent communication skills, design, creative design strategy, excellent presentation skills, conceptualization and ideation. All those are very good key skills when it comes to video editing. If you're applying for sales role, you can talk about empathy, you can talk about your organizational skills, you can talk about your persuasiveness, you can talk about, how maybe if you have some kind of experience in teaching, because that is also linked to sales role, you have to explain things, so teaching is also one good skill. You can talk about those kind of things. So always make sure whatever you're writing in key skills, that should be relevant for the job. Hope that answers your question. Right. Now, moving forward, internships and work experience. So if you have no work experience, you can talk only about the internships, or if you had done any project, that will also come up. So again, write in reverse chronological order, latest first and then followed by the others. So latest experience first, bullet points, quantify and highlight accomplishments. So if you have, let's say, done an internship and you won any award there, or you completed a project and that was a success, highlight those things. Incorporate the keywords, job title, company name, duration, roles and responsibilities, and accomplishment. These things should be a part of your internships and work experience section. Then start with action verbs. What are the action verbs? That led a team, managed a team, or coached a team, organize this project, or maybe you can start with engineered this building, created this project. So those words, created, built, accomplished, achieved, led, coached, those are your action verbs. Use that. So these are certain things that you should definitely mention in your internship and work experience section. So for example, let's say you are currently you are working as a sales manager in a company. So you can write your job title, that sales manager, name of the company XYZ Private Limited, 4th August 2019 to present, roles and responsibilities, mention in few bullet points, 2 3 bullet points, very simply in a very precise manner. And if you have accomplished anything, there was a successful project or anything, you can mention that or highlight that as well. Then why are keywords necessary? We are talking about keywords a lot, that keywords are very necessary. Put keywords here also. I just pointed it out that, for example, I have mentioned it quite a few times that keywords are extremely important when you are writing your skills. For example, here I have written incorporate the keywords. Now, why do you need to incorporate these keywords? The very simple answer to that is the software learns about existing employees' experience, education, and other qualifications and applies this knowledge to new applicants in order to rate, rank, and shortlist the strongest candidates. Now, where is this software coming into the picture? I'm sure you all are confused. Let's wait, I'm gonna clear it up. Now, in your resume, keywords are extremely important. Why? Because in this world, in this today's era where technology is at peak, a lot of companies, what they do is they put your resume in a software, and this resumes will be shortlisted by the softwares. Let's say 1,000 people have applied. Out of that, 80 resumes will be selected by the software, which will use artificial intelligence and all those things. And eventually they will give them the 80 resume. Now, how will you make sure that you incorporate those keywords? And how does this software work? So in this software, how things work is they already have the data from existing employees. They know what are the skills that the existing employees have, what is the education background that the existing employees have, and based upon that they have a lot of data. They use that data and they make prediction whether this resume will fit in our company in this job role or not, whether this particular resume will fit or not. So in that, keywords have a very important role. So if you have the right kind of keywords, right set of keywords in your resume, there are very high chances your resume will get shortlisted by the particular software. So that's extremely important. Now, a lot of you may ask me that what are the main keywords? Let's say you are applying for software engineer. Keywords will be different. If you're applying for civil engineering role, keywords will be different. If you're applying for mechanical engineering role, keywords will be different. You can go to LinkedIn, you can follow people who are in the same career zone and you can see their profile. You can search on Google as well that what are the keywords for this particular area, and then you can incorporate the same in your resume. Okay, Santosh is asking me, sir, is it true that some companies filter out two-page resumes without even looking at them, like some auto filter? Hence, do you recommend having one-page resume only despite having a lot of projects done? Santosh, generally up to 2 pages, it is completely okay. A lot of companies do filter out resumes if it is more than 2 pages. But 2 pages is generally considerable. It's always great and preferable if you can sum up everything on just one page. That will leave like nothing, and that will be a great idea to have everything sorted on one page itself. But if you are not able to do that, you have done a lot of projects, you have a lot of experience, then you can stretch it up to 2 pages, but make sure you do not go beyond 2 pages. A resume which is more than 2 pages is actually not a resume. It is supposed to be CV, that is curriculum vitae. So make sure you have it very briefly, concisely. You have mentioned things. Don't talk about things which are not relevant for the job profile, and that will eventually concise it on its own. I hope that answers your question, Santosh. Now, how do you mention your projects? Again, reverse chronological order. First, the latest project, then only the relevant project should be there. You can mention the project title, objective, description, results, and tools and technique. So let's say the project title, you have done something in sales. Maybe you have done a project on lead generation for this and this. You can write that what was the objective to generate leads for this and this company in this and this team for this particular project. What can be the description? You can write about that particular project, who were the clients, stakeholders involved. You can write the result, whether it was a success, it was a failure, what were your learnings, what were the tools and techniques did you use? Did you use Excel? Did you use Salesforce? Did you use CRM? Did you use any other tool? Whatever you have used, any data analysis tool, mention all those things under the project section. For example, this is one. This is the title: SDLC project, Agile methodology, designed a prototype for North Star, a bridge network by analyzing their existing system of online operations. Played the role of Scrum Master. Very precisely written, not taking a lot of space, and it's very clear that this was the project, this was the role of the person, and this is what the person has done. So it's very, very clear and very, very precise. That's one example of a good writing for a project section. Now, moving forward, how can you mention your trainings and certificates? Again, reverse chronological order. The latest should be at the top. Then add only the relevant ones. You can mention the name of the course, institute's name, year certified. For example, let's say you had an artificial intelligence from Great Learning Academy. You can write artificial intelligence by Great Learning Academy in 2021 or in 2022 accordingly. Now, one more question. Should the sections be in a particular order? Whatever we have discussed, that there should be projects, trainings, profile summary, name, should that be in a particular sequence? I have already discussed it. Yes. See, you can switch a few things. For example, whether you want to mention your key skills first or trainings first, that can be switched. But few things should be at a specific space. Whenever you are writing your personal details, that should be at the top. Your name, email ID, phone number, that should be at the top. Then exactly after that should come your profile summary, then your education, then you can talk about your internships and work experience, then you can talk about your key skills, you can talk about your trainings, and then additional information, projects, those things. At the end you can mention additional information. At the very beginning it should be your personal details, and in the beginning try to talk about your education and work experience, because that is very important. So it's not like there's a particular order, but just use your basic sense that when a person is going to look at it, what are the most important things which actually matter, and what are the things that we can keep at the end, so that if the person has time they can read it, or even if they leave it, it should not affect the your chances of getting the particular job or getting the particular selection for the next round of the screening process, right? Now, language and formatting. So definitely when we talk about language, there should not be any grammatical or punctuation errors. Make sure there are so many free tools on internet that you can use to check your grammar and punctuation. Short and crisp sentences, write in active voice. What do I mean when I say active voice? So I'll say, for example, if I say I did it, that is active voice. But if I say it was done by me, that is passive voice. So always write active voice, that is very, very clear. Write in active voice rather than, I won't say it should be written in active voice. That's just a longer form and a lot of filler words. So always write it very nicely, precisely, use the keywords, striking words, and make it look good. Use past tense. What do I mean when I say past tense? You don't have to use I, we, you, they, these kind of things in your resume. You can simply you don't have to write I manage a team, I managed a team. Don't have to write I, you, we, they. You can simply write managed a team. Now why I'm saying managed, because it was done in the past. So use past tense. Led a team, managed a team, accomplished this. So accomplished, managed, did, all those things should be a part of your striking verbs. Then avoid repetitive words. We have already seen a lot of striking words and their synonyms. Use that. Don't use repetitive words again and again. It will make it look very dull. Then incorporate keywords. We have understood that keywords are extremely important. Whatever your field is, search keywords in that area, incorporate wherever you can in your resume. Then consistent sentence structure. It should not look abrupt. Whatever you're writing should have some kind of consistency. Now coming to formatting, already told you it should not exceed 1 to 2 pages, preferably 1 page, maximum 2 pages, not more than that. Use bullet points. If you are writing your roles and responsibilities, you are describing something, use bullet points so that it's clear and it's simple to read, easy to read. And then simple colors. Do not use colors which are not clearly visible on white paper. If you use yellow color on white, that will not be clearly visible, especially if it's in the PDF form. So make sure you use colors which are in the good format. For example, blue and white is a good combination. Sorry, blue, white, and black. So if the paper is white, you can use blue and black color. Headings can be with blue and everything else can be black, or everything can be in black as well. So there is no theme, just make it look good. It should be very, very clear once we have a look at the resume. Then font size, Calibri, Verdana, Cambria, these are good font sizes that you can use. Font styles and font size can be 10 to 12 points. Again, if you have a lot of information you want to fit it, you can keep 10, otherwise 12 is also good. Consistent margins. If a particular space you are leaving in the left side, same space you should leave in the right side. Whatever space you are leaving at the top, same space you should leave at the bottom as well. It should look consistent. Margin should be same on both the sides, top or bottom. Use bold and italic if required. If you want to highlight something, if you want to talk about some figures, some facts, highlight that, make it bold or italic. No over highlighting. If you highlight everything, that will again make it look very cluttered, which is not a great idea. So make sure you highlight according to the needs and not randomly. Now this is time for all of you to ask me any questions, whatever you have. So I have done my part. We still have 10 minutes left. If you have any questions about anything that we have discussed in this session, please let me know in the chat box and I'll be more than happy to reply to all those queries. Okay, Santosh is saying thanks. No worries, Santosh. That's my job. Please ask questions, whatever you have related to resume building in the chat box, related to any of these things. So I'll just open the agenda slide so that it is clear for you and you can also see what all we have discussed. And then based upon that, you can ask me whatever you want to ask. Please let me know in the chat box whatever questions you have. Hari Vignesh is saying thank you. Thank you, Hari Vignesh. Thank you to you too for being very, very attentive and listening to all the information that I have given. Other students, please let me know in the chat box whether you have understood it. Do you have any doubts? If you have not understood a part, let me know so that I can try to clarify that. If you have understood it, let me know that it's clear to you. There are no questions, but please be interactive and let me know in the chat box. Also, one more thing I would like to point out here is, so these live sessions, for example, this one live session I'm taking on effective resume building. Every day we will be taking these live sessions. One session will be at 12 in the morning, in the afternoon, and one session will be at 5 p.m. So today also we have one session at 5 p.m. which will be about guesstimates and puzzles. Then one of my colleagues, Madhur, will be taking and he will be explaining you about all those things, and he has expertise in that area as well. So make sure you attend all these live sessions and learn about these interview preparation skills, and eventually you can crack your dream job as well. Right? Komaru is saying, I'm very happy to be a part of this lecture. I am also very happy to be a part of this lecture and I got to interact with all of you. It's great opportunity for me and for you. It's a give and take policy. I am so happy as well. Thank you for your feedback. Okay, Krishna Aditya is saying no questions about this session, but it would be great if you can share a few templates. So, okay, one thing I would like to mention, I can show you a few templates, nothing like that. But it's always, you can go to internet and you can just search for thousands of templates. And I would suggest you one thing. See, whenever you are building your resume, basic process how you should start is never start writing directly. First thing what you should do is open Excel or open, just take a paper, pen and a paper, write all the things that you have done in your career till now. Let's say you'll have a lot of skills, right? Thousands of skills people can have. Write all the 20-30 skills that you feel you have. Even if it is very basic, organized, you are very organized, you are very punctual, you are very hardworking, whatever you feel, write that. Write everything. In education, write everything. In skills, write everything, and keep it ready. Write it in Word, write it in Excel, wherever you want. Whatever it is, whatever is necessary, whatever certificates you have got till date, even if it was in third class, fourth class, 10th class, write everything on one paper and then start building your resume. Now you have all the data with you, and then what you do is when you are writing key skills, you are applying to a job, then pick up. Let's say you have written 20 skills on that paper. Now you are applying to a job. Now what do you think is relevant for that job? Out of 20, you don't have to pick everything. Just pick any five which is the most relevant for that particular job. When you are picking up the certificates, let's say you have got 20 certificates till now in your school, college, everywhere included. Out of 20, Pick any five which are the most relevant for that particular job that you will be able to justify. Mention all those. If all these 20 certificates are relevant for the job, then you can mention all the 20 as well. Right, but generally that's not the case. Out of 20, some 10 will be relevant for a particular job. So mention those 10 certificates, but keep everything ready in one, this thing. Now coming to sample resumes. So once you have written each and everything, the data is with you, you start writing your resume. You can go to internet, you can go to Google and just search CV templates, resume templates, and thousands, just millions of templates are out there. Even on Word, you can simply type resume in the search bar and you will be able to see a lot of templates. You can download any template which looks sober and nice and decent and not very cluttered. Do not use very fancy, in which there are so many things and very colorful. That's not a very good idea, especially if you're applying for technical roles or management roles. If you're applying for let's say some different roles, some editor roles, a graphic designer, then it can show your potential because that's include designing and all. But if you're applying for a basic role like technical or management, then just keep it very simple, use one or two colors, and you can actually do that. I'll show you a few samples here as well if you want. For example, these are the three samples that I have. If you go here, you can see it's completely in black color that the person has written. They have mentioned each and everything, the name, email ID, LinkedIn profile, and it's just completed on one page. So this person has divided it into two columns. So he's writing here as well as this person is writing here. You can keep it in one column as well. Let me show you some other examples. If you go to, let's see, this one, you can see here. So here it is in one column only. So all these things are written like this. See, this person has written in bullet points very clearly. Everything is very, very clear. Who was the guide, what is the project he has done, what is the part he has, role he has played in that project. Technical skills, again, languages, softwares and technologies, all these things are very, very clear here. Extracurricular activities. So that's how you can write it. Again, there's this one. The person has written the profile summary or the objective very simply. Three things only: name, email address. You can add, I would suggest you, this person has not mentioned his LinkedIn profile. You can add your LinkedIn profile here too. Education, the person has clearly mentioned which year he is from, what is the CGPA he got, percentage he got, class, BTech, everything is mentioned. Skills, interests, what are the projects he has been a part of. Again, in bullet points, he has clearly mentioned his roles and responsibilities, their internships, trainings, whatever he has done, positions of responsibilities, extracurricular activities, all these things. In whatever way you want to mention it, you can download thousands of resumes from internet, samples, and then modify it according to your needs. Hope that clarifies. Manindra is saying, can we have some designing websites? So there are a lot of softwares on internet for free you will get where you can just put all the information and your resume will be built. I personally will not suggest that. I have designed my resume on my own. Just go to Word and use the basic format and you can write everything. No, too fancy resumes are not required actually. Whatever you write in that is extremely important. So it's not, like what is the formatting and all of that is okay. It should just look clean. For example, if you look at this resume, it's not very fancy, but it's very, very clean to look at. Things are bolded clearly, things are very, very clean. That's the main idea behind any resume. Hope the questions are clear. Okay, somebody is asking me, yeah, this is a good thing. It is important put a photo in resume. Your photograph is not required in resumes. If your job requires your face, then maybe you can put your photograph. Otherwise, just avoid it. Never put your picture in your resume. It is not necessary until unless it is your face is required in the. For example, let's say you are applying for the role of a journalism. In journalism, you are applying for the role of in the mass media communication industry. You are applying somewhere and there your face is required. Maybe in that case they can ask you for a picture, but that is generally specified. If you're applying for a software engineer role or marketing role, your picture is not really required. You can skip that. Right? I hope that answers your question. Yeah, Santosh is saying the last resume was better than the other one. Santosh, it depends. What are the which role you are applying to? It is again, that's why I'm saying, do not follow one template. Have like download a few templates from internet, have a few templates, have all the skills and everything written on one paper, and then start building. Pick up good things, whatever you like. Let's say from one template you are liking how they have written the education, pick up that. From other template you are liking how they have written the key skills, in what format they have written, pick up that format. It should not be like you have to follow one format only. Download a few templates and pick up whatever you feel is good in those templates. Hope that's clear, Santosh. All right then, I hope this session was clear. This session is clear to you, and I hope I have answered all your questions as well. Thank you so much for attending this session. Again, as I already mentioned, we have these sessions coming up every day. One session will be at 12 p.m. and one session will be at 5 p.m. Today also we have one session from 5 to 6 p.m. It will be about guesstimates and puzzles, which is a very, very important thing in today's world. In a lot of companies, in a lot of interviews, you apply for, if you apply for MBA also, there are so many tests that you write in which aptitude, puzzles, interviews, these things are very, very important. And that session is precisely about that Madhu Singh will be taking. So make sure you attend that session from 5 to 6 p.m. You get to learn about guesstimates, puzzles, how do you solve guesstimates, and eventually you enhance your knowledge base. Hope this session was helpful for all of you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for attending this session. Santosh, you were very, very interactive throughout the session. Thank you. Everybody, affirmative, his name he has written, Hari Vignesh. Perfect. I see all of you have been very, very interactive throughout the session. Viresh Patel. Perfect, guys. I hope the same energy will be there in all these sessions that we are going to take. Once again, thank you so much for your kind attention. Thank you so much for attending the session.